Okay. Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing fine. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. Nice to
Oh,
have you
thank you
here.
so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, let's see. You've got a new book out. It's called The Monsters of Marymount Mansion. That's a bit of a tongue twister. And it's one of those things you don't want to say too fast because you won't say it right. Yeah. You'll start
Yeah,
tripping
I
up.
there because of all the M's. That's actually why I chose that title.
Okay. And I see some other books you've got back there, Chicken Boy and a couple of others.
Boy, Irving, the theater nut. I have two of my Chicken Boy books, are my two books on autism awareness.
Before we get to the book, Monsters of Marymount Mansion, let's talk a little bit about you and what you've done with your life. It says on your bio that you're an award winning author, screenwriter, filmmaker, actor. You've been in the entertainment industry for 35 years. Well, that's a long time.
It's pretty much what I've always known. I grew up performing as a kid. I grew up in Texas. I was always performing. I was singing. I was acting. I started writing very young. Started writing a lot of scripts, and I would direct the neighborhood kids in the backyard in scripts that I had written. And by the time I was in high school, I was part of a children's theater company. And what was so incredible was the woman would let the older students direct and assist direct with her. And she let me start writing. And she produced four of the musicals that I wrote when I was in high school before I moved off to New York City.
Is any of your work been produced that I might have heard of?
I don't think you would have heard of it. I've had stuff done all over the place, and I continued working as an actor in New York. I worked with the Children's Theater Company in New Jersey. I would write for them. I would write some of the musicals, the music for their shows. And so I kind of always stayed in that vein a lot with children's theater. I toured the country as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. So I stayed very busy, and then I detoured into corporate America. I don't know how, but for 13 years of my life, I was at a major firm in New York City. That I was in the World Trade Center during the first bombing in '93.
Oh, God.
And it was my stay alive job. It was supposed to be, instead of waiting tables like other actors, I was going to go work there and do a 6 month job. And yeah, I got pulled in and I climbed the corporate ladder. And the next thing you know, I'm project managing. And I looked up and I'm like, I've been here 13 years. What happened?
Well, it's funny. Your story is similar to mine. I don't know if you read my bio on any of the websites, but I went to New York City at 18 and went to the American Academy of Dramatic Art and was studying there. I was also in a band that was playing around the local clubs in the village, and then I went back to Boston where I'm from. My father was sick. He passed away, and then at that point my whole life changed, and I worked in corporate in Boston for 20 years.
Amazing.
And
Wow.
I said, you know what, I got to get out of here. And I came back to music, and through music, the show evolved. And I don't want to
Okay.
get into that whole story, but it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, are you able to make a living doing what you're doing now?
Well, I've always managed to keep a regular job. So the reason I left corporate America was I was the artistic director of a theater company in New Jersey. The president of a local college, came to see our show. He contacted me and said, "Can you recommend someone that can lead our art center, manage our art center? I really want to see it go in a new way." And I said, "Yeah, I recommend myself." And I just thought, my business side of my brain, my art side, it's time to walk away from corporate America and let me get back into the creative arts. And that's what I did. So I've been in arts management now for 13 years. It is a wonderful regular job while I'm able to live out all of my creative expression through filmmaking and writing. And I travel to schools. For the past 10 years, I've been traveling to schools, and I love talking to children about my children's books. But I feel it's completely different when I'm not doing it out of hunger that I had in my early 20s, running out and auditioning for everything. I got back into acting this year, and I've made like 7 short films, and I've done a lot of TV work. I'm having a ball because it's not the way I'm making a living. So I think there's a real difference when you do have something steady. And in my case, my steady is still in the arts. So it's a blessing.
Well, that's the best of both worlds, isn't it? Because for the 20 years that I was working, I couldn't switch to the other side of the brain.
Completely agree. And I feel like when I stepped back into arts management, my creative soul felt fulfilled again. Because I was then, I mean, look, I started writing books in 2011. So I was already in arts management by then. And I've had 10 books published. I mean, some of them are adult novels and short stories, but 4 children's books. And it was Chicken Boy that completely changed my trajectory because I had no idea. I was just writing a story about my godson with autism, and I didn't know it was going to win this publishing award, and then it was going to be picked up by a major publishing house, and then they would publish the second book, and I would be going to schools. It really changed everything, and I love it. I love that part of my life that I can walk in, talk to young students, and see all this exuberance and life, and answer their questions, and I find it really, really exciting.
Well, you mentioned your godson. Was that the sort of catalyst that got you writing children's books?
He was the reason. It was my first children's book, so it was definitely him because he has autism, and I thought, what if the things he does is because he's a superhero and he makes these noises and he'll make this sound, baka, and so I made that his battle cry. And so really I just wrote the story to share with his mother. And another friend of mine who's an author said, you need to put that into this contest with Me Genius Publishing. They're looking for new authors. And that's kind of how it happened. I didn't think I was going to go down this road. Like I said, I had years of doing children's theater. I got my equity card doing children's theater. I had written for children's theater, but I wasn't thinking in terms of children's books, being a children's book author.
Well, so now you're on your 4th book, The Monsters of Marymount Mansion. Where did that title come from?
Well, the title came from the story when I first originally wrote it was like a bed and breakfast. And I thought, no, mansion is a better sound because of monster. And then I just wanted an M word, so I just wanted 3 M's. The story came about because as I would go to these schools and talk, I was talking about autism. It's okay to be different. Don't be afraid of someone because they're different or someone with autism. And the children will ask you all kinds of questions and you just have to answer really quickly, on the spot. And I had an aha moment in front of these kids that I've been telling this story since I was 14. When I told you I'd written those 4 musicals in high school, the very first one was a Halloween musical about monsters and Dracula and all these people that live down in this basement, and they could only come out once a year on Halloween when they can mingle around the rest of the world. So I'm standing in front of children telling that story, and I went, I've been talking about being different all my whole life. So it was only last fall, I thought, I'm going to write that. I'm going to turn that musical into a picture book for children. Reach out to my mom in Texas. I'm like, do we have any of that? Is that script anywhere? No, it's not. So I literally just had to go through from my brain from, 30 years. I'm in my 50s now. I'm going way back to what was happening and rewrote the story loosely using that first story I did when I was 14. And then it was too much story for a picture book. I wrote it first as a picture book, and I'm like, this just won't work. So I worked with teachers and educators, and I got it into an early reader chapter book format. Before school was out last spring, I went to a first grade teacher. She read it to her entire class. I went and talked to them. I got all this great feedback. Kids were drawing me pictures before there were any illustrations with the book. And so I just kind of felt like the book took on a life of its own, and it just snowballed. And I'm like, great, I want it out by October. And now it comes out October 10th, so I'm very happy.
Who's doing the illustrations in the book?
So Shelby Goodwin, I had never worked with her before. I actually found her online, and we live so close. I live in Northern New Jersey. She lives in Northern New Jersey. She did the illustrations, she did the book cover, and she did the entire book design, the whole layout of this book. And I'm completely thrilled with the work that she's done.
What age group would your books be best suited for?
I would say for this one, because it's early reader, it's like first to fourth grade. So my friend that was the first grade teacher said it's a great read aloud book. So if a teacher or a parent wants to read it to their child, and then as they get into second and third grade and they're learning to read, then they can be reading it themselves. I worked with a wonderful editor, and we made sure that the word choices and everything I was doing really is geared to that age group. So I would say, 7 to 10-year-olds. The main little monster is 8 years old in the book.
Is there a continuous theme through all the books? One particular theme?
Well, I think the 4 children's books I've written, there is a theme, and that theme is about children or animals or monsters that are thinking outside the box. So the first one was about a little boy who wants to be a superhero because he feels different because he has autism. I started working almost 10 years ago up in Westchester County, New York, where I managed the theater. My second week in that place, a squirrel got into our theater. Now, yes, we had to get the squirrel out, but my brain started going, oh, why did that squirrel want to get in here? That squirrel wanted to see all the kids that are rehearsing after school for the plays. That turned into a book, 2016, that book was done, and that's Irving the Theater Nut. So that was about someone who wants to do something. This little squirrel didn't want to gather nuts like all the other squirrels. He really wanted to be on stage and he wanted to perform. And this one is about Toby is so tired of hiding out in the basement. Well, why can't I go out in the real world on days other than Halloween? Well, they're going to laugh at you because how you look. Well, what if I wear a costume? So he rationalizes how he can go out into the world. And it was so great. I had an author friend who's also a dad just read it. And he's like, this is every parent's what they think of as they watch their kids going out for the first time. He said, and that's what this whole book is about, like giving your children room to grow and make the choices they need to make. So to answer a long answer, that's kind of the common for all 4 books.
Okay. Is Monsters out? Has it been released?
I'm not sure when you're putting this out, but it comes out October 10th.
Oh, okay. This will be out before that. So October 10th. Okay. We do have to kind of wind this down. Thanks so much for coming on. Do you have a website you want to give out?
Sure, gregsimagination.com.
Okay. And there's information about your books and...
Absolutely. It's all there. Links to purchase, everything.
Okay, super. Well, Greg, thanks so much for coming on the show. It was nice meeting you, and best of luck with your books and everything you're doing.
Thank you so much.